What's up, guys? Kind of a big deal videos. Paul here. For those of you who aren't subscribers or who have never seen my videos, I'm a amateur bodybuilder from Ottawa, Ontario, which is a small city out of, it's actually our nation's capital, but it's still a smaller city in Canada. Although being the nation's capital, it's not massive like Toronto or New York. But anyways, we have a good bodybuilding scene here. If you guys, follow bodybuilding, you probably have heard of Mr. Olympia Classic Physique champion Chris Bumstead from Ottawa. Regan Grimes. Wait, Regan isn't from Ottawa. He's from London, but he's been to Ottawa. I don't know. Ian Valliere, of course, being our other huge name. Huge being an understatement. Joe Siemens coming up on the scene. You've seen videos with me and Joe. He was my coach. Ian's been my coach. Melissa Bumstead, Chris's sister, phenomenal bodybuilder or competitor who's been to the Olympia. She's not a bodybuilder, but I don't know. They are going to have a female bodybuilding division now, so who knows? So, anyways, we have a big community. That's all I'm saying right now. Aaron Legend Physique. And my channel kind of highlights some of the talents from Ottawa, but that's not where I'm going with this video. And I'm not name dropping these guys for any particular reason, but I guess it just gives you a sense that the magnitude of our community is that we have some pros that have worked with some of the major gurus and some of the pros, and I think there's a big takeaway there for someone who's been in the game for a long time like myself. I'm, going on 40 years old, and I've been competing for a long time, and I wanted to make a video for the community. And this won't be like one of my happy-go-lucky videos where I feature bodybuilders or I stay within the safe realm of, talking about bodybuilding. I'm actually going to deviate a bit because I want to make a video about health. And I really can't make a video about health without touching on some things that are a little bit controversial. I have in my past videos too during my show prep, which I somewhat regret. I talked a little bit about, some supplements that you can use to help with show prep. And, I don't encourage people use supplements. And when I say supplements, I mean like the stuff you can either get from a doctor or, that aren't necessarily supplements you get at the supplement store, if you catch my drift. What I really want to talk about today is the heart. I want to allocate a whole video to heart disease, anabolics, and talking about and auxiliary, auxiliary drugs that bodybuilders could potentially use for bodybuilding contests. And I want to talk about, dangers and harms, not for shock value and not to, sensationalize or not to even shit on bodybuilding, because I think bodybuilding is beautiful. It's changed my life in many amazing ways. Also, it may have hurt me in many ways. And I want people to get the same experiences that I did and have their lives altered by it in a positive way and maybe mitigate some of the possible damages they could do. So I want to talk about health and the heart because, in the past 20 years, I've learned a lot about the heart. So let's just get going. Okay, so basic things you need to know. Anabolics are not safe. They can be used more responsibly. Megadosing is not safe. It can be done responsibly. I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you which diagnostic tools to use. It's specifically for the heart. We're talking about the heart today. And I'm going to talk about potential outcomes, okay? So let's start with the most, basic side effect, heart-related, that comes with anabolics, and that is cholesterol, okay? And cholesterol makes or breaks heart disease. So I know people are going to shit on the fact that cholesterol is the cause or the over-encompassing cause of heart disease. It may not be, it may be inflammation, it may be other things, but cholesterol plays a part. And why? Because your arteries are being damaged. The HDL cleans up the LDL, who's, acting as a patch-up crew, and your HDL comes and takes that LDL away, okay? So that LDL is maybe performing a function that needs to be performed. That said, if the HDL is not there, it's not there to mitigate the damages the LDL is having on your system. So it's really convoluted, and I don't want to get into the science of it or the suspected science of how it works. Basically, if you do your blood work and your LDL is sky high and your HDL is non-existent, you're fucked. Okay? If you do your blood work and it looks like that, get out of the red, get into some healthy alternatives, and stop doing what you're doing and fix it. You got to fix it. If you can't fix it, take the recommendation of a doctor and look at statins, or get red yeast rice as a supplement. Do your blood work again, see if that helps. So treatment for cholesterol, statins, and red yeast life. That could alter the path of your bodybuilding and alter the path of your heart health. I guarantee you, abso-fucking-lutely. Excuse me for swearing, but it's like really essential that people get this in check. Do not leave your LDL high for too long. Trust me. Arterial plaque will lead to an MI. An MI will lead to heart failure. Heart failure will lead to death. Okay? And that's what this video is all about. Let's get it straight, okay? Because, when I talk about anabolics being used responsibly, that can only help you so much. So let's go back to cholesterol, okay? You have this high LDL. Problem with gear is that it will bring down your HDL. So say goodbye to your cleanup crew. See ya, no more HDL. Tons of LDL. Not good, okay? So what's the net effect of that? You come off, you clean up. Your LDL goes down. Your HDL is for another 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Guys never come off long enough. They come off for like 2 months. You're just doing all these damages. In fact, your LDL will probably even raise during the first initial bit, and your HDL may stay low, so you're just screwing yourself. You come off for a month, what do you think? Your cleanup crew is going to clean all those arteries up, and you're going to come back on, you're going to be, hey, I'm healthy again, all the arteries are clean? No. Your arteries are still dirty. Fucked, okay? You come off, you're in trouble. Unless you come off for a long time. We're talking like 6-7 months. Who does that? So, problem with gear and bodybuilding is that you're going to cause some arterial damage if it's in your genetics. Some people aren't going to get it, some people are. So this is one potential adverse effect. How do you mitigate it? I said statins. Red yeast rice is a very good supplement that will actually take care of it, and it's not a statin, although it may have the adverse effects of a statin. So look into it, and don't take a statin and red yeast rice. A statin alone should be enough. Talk to your doctor about it if your cholesterol is out of whack for a long time. Again, remember, long-term bad triglycerides, high HDL, high LDL, low HDL will lead to a heart attack. Okay, now let's talk about research and studies. Exciting times. Okay, so LV, your left ventricle, and your cardiac muscle itself. So studies show that the left ventricle will have some dysfunction after years of bodybuilding. And this is done by studying this is shown in studies of bodybuilders. And bodybuilders showing up to emerge and having some serious bad LV going on. Left ventricle hypertrophy, your ventricle is trying to pump through blood, it's not doing so well, it's constricted or it's pumping too much blood. Again, I'm not going to bog you down with the science. I can't fully say I'm great with understanding it myself. I'm not a cardiologist, although I do a whack ton of reading, and I try to make the best out of what I read. The other thing is your ejection fraction. So over time with, bad pump, your ejection fraction is what's distributing blood all over to your body and going through your heart. Okay, so if your ejection fraction lowers, essentially you're in position for heart failure. If it continues to lower, you're in heart failure. You need a pacemaker, or you need to take medications before that. Hopefully you don't get to the pacemaker, because the pacemaker means you're not doing good. If you get a pacemaker, you're looking at really, really bad ejection fraction or some left ventricle dysfunction, causing your heart not to work well. And it's basically defibrillating your heart when it goes and shuts down. I would assume similar to what happened with C.T. Fletcher. He had like open heart surgery after his heart attack, and he needed to defib. It didn't really hit him for a couple of years, but that defib saved his life a couple times, until, his ticker finally went. And I'm assuming it was heart failure. Oh no, he had another heart attack, but I'm assuming he had another heart attack. His heart was so weak, forget it. That was it for him. Other famous bodybuilders who went into heart failure. I don't want to be naming names, so fuck that. I'm not going to name their names. But there are about a handful I can count, that went into heart failure after. I'm not sure if they had an MI. I don't know what the history is, or if they just had like cardiomyopathy or some ventricle problems, or their ejection fraction was just altered by, years of gear use. It will. There are studies that show morphology of the heart. So your heart muscle will change shapes and sizes. Same thing with your ventricles. Bad news bears. Okay. Okay, so I think I've touched on the major things that can happen. Of course, there's way more. There's left-sided heart failure and right-sided heart failure. Heart failure is very complex, and I mean, you know symptoms of this if you started to build fluids in your lungs. If your circulation could be a problem, of course, that could also be related to kidneys and whatnot. So, yeah, I don't want you to be a Google doctor or listen to what I say and think you're in heart failure. But I do want to warn people against these things. Another thing, drugs. Okay, so I'm going to get into specifics. Testosterone does not is not any better than any other hormone. They'll all lower your HDL. Okay? I hear all this talk about trenbolone being the heart killer and whatnot and this and that. Maybe it'll bring up your triglycerides higher than testosterone would, but all anabolics, the net effect is heart health is compromised. Whether you're using testosterone, masterone, anadrol, you're using orals. When you're using orals, your liver's also in there. It's a double filtration process, so you're affecting your organs on top of affecting all the other things that regular steroids would affect. So it's like a double whammy. Orals are probably the harshest overall. But if you're looking to preserve your heart health, there isn't any way. I mean, technically, I guess testosterone would be a little bit milder since it's not as androgenic, and I think it would be easier on your cholesterol. That said, I'm saying I think. Like if you did TRT, your HDL would even suffer on TRT. So think about that. Think about that. Long-term use of just replacement is still potentially harmful. So think about what bodybuilders do. Some bodybuilders do. Which brings me to my next point. Megadosing is absolutely worthless. All this Rich Piana stuff you've seen, and rest in peace, Rich. I no disrespect, but those videos about doing these like 18-week cycles with like milligrams and milligrams, which add to grams of stuff, please don't do it. You're gonna hurt yourself bad. It's not worth it. I mean, you can equally build muscle on lower doses, below a gram for sure, for like a show. And I mean, we're talking like guys in the 90s were not doing as much. Everybody doesn't believe what's coming out of their mouths. Like Lee Priest. Lee Priest was a little guy too, but it doesn't necessarily mean that made him more muscular or his receptors any better. Really there's a saturation point where like taking, and I've used this analogy a million times in my videos, taking one Tylenol is just as effective as taking four. In fact, four will do dick all. One max strength Tylenol should get rid of your headache. Okay? Same thing goes with, your TRT levels, a little bit above TRT, would probably be supraphysiological levels. I mean, you can do your blood work and see it, but this high dosing is just unnecessary, and it's causing unnecessary side effects. Why? Why are you doing it? And I know why you're doing it, because we've all been there. Because somebody told you, if you drop, this mega dosing scheme, you're gonna be nothing, or look like, a skinny twig again. And I don't know, all the pro bodybuilders from the 90s were doing billions and billions of milligrams and all this bullshit, which is bullshit, okay? It's not the drugs, it's the eating and it's the food. Guaranteed, guaranteed. The drugs will help, but the eating and the food is the big picture. It's 90% of the pie. The drugs are like 5%. No word of a lie. 5%. The other factors are strategizing, 5%, strategizing how you're eating, what you're eating, nutrient partitioning, and then the rest is like training, consistency, and eating. Like, it's that simple. Okay, so diagnostics. Let's get into diagnostics, because this is the most important part. Because your doctor is going to be a moron. One, you're on testosterone or something, or who knows what you're doing, and you're going to your doctor, and they're going to look at you like you have a third eye, and they're not going to want to help you, because to them you're just worse than. And I've seen this, and I've heard it from friends. Unfortunately, the stigmatization is terrible. You're worse than a heroin fiend. And this is unacceptable, because they are there to treat you, right? So make sure that they are treating you, okay? That is their responsibility. So things that I would recommend for the heart, okay? Blood work every month. Like I said, make sure your cholesterol is in check. Your cholesterol is in check. Okay, good. Keep it there. Make sure you keep it there. Okay, next, get your doctor to look at an echo, okay? If you've been doing this for 5 years, at least 5 years, I'd say 2, get an echo. Shit, even 1 year, get an echo, because some people have pre-existing problems, right? You want to nip that in the bud. With the echo, you'll see, if you have faulty valves, if you already have left ventricle problems, which you may innately, if you have, cardiomyopathy from like a cold or something, who knows? Um, Probably not likely, but anyways, or if, you really use gear and your body was ultra sensitive and your heart changed, got to check it out. Get them to give you an echo. At least do an echo every couple of years. Please. Okay, nuclear stress tests. These are beautiful. They feel like hell. Okay, trust me, I've done them. Nuclear stress, they'll see what's going on in your heart and your arteries. It's almost as effective as an angiogram, okay? So they'll tell if you have blocked arteries. They'll tell if the blood flow is constricted. They'll measure your ejection fraction. By the way, your echo will also measure your ejection fraction and your LV function, which is really helpful. Excuse the itching. I just shaved. TMI, eh? So those are really helpful. So echoes and then nuclears. You're probably never going to get a nuclear. That costs the hospital a lot of money to do. If you have a nuclear, it probably means that you've had high cholesterol for a very long time, and they suspect that you might have an occlusion, and they want to make sure that you don't. Okay, so if you can get a nuclear, get a nuclear. Basic stress tests are good too, but we're bodybuilders, so we're pretty much giving ourselves stress tests all the time. That said, it's not uncommon for a bodybuilder to just drop, okay? So, those are just this is a basic overview. I think, I had some research data that supported a lot more. Last thing before I go, T3, Clenbuterol. I used to not understand why these were so bad. What an, how stupid of me. These things are terrible for the left ventricle. There's a lot of research. Like, if you have hyperthyroidism, you're more at risk for a heart attack. So just having a high thyroid output, you're already at risk for a heart attack. The thyroid an overactive thyroid leads to LV problems. Clenbuterol, LV problems. Plus, you're pushing. Okay, your heart's pushing, cardiomyopathy. You know, LV, left ventricle hypertrophy, dysfunctions, left, right, and center when it comes to your arteries, or your not arterial blockage, but again, the construct of your heart and how it pumps and flows, in your vessel's health. Okay, so that'll change how that works. Remember, your heart's always under stress. Not a good thing. Not a good thing with those drugs in conjunction with, the cholesterol buildup. You're asking for some major, major incident to happen. And if you have an MI and there's certain arteries that you might get away with, but if you have one in what we call the widowmaker, which is the LAD, the LAD, so it's not referred to as the LAD ever. What I've been told by cardiologists is the LAD. If you do have, a heart attack, LAD related, like in that artery, they call it the widowmaker for a reason. That's something you might not get out of. So that said, I'm approaching 40. Every year, I think about doing things healthier. Every time I do a show, I kick myself in the ass, not because of, the dosages and stuff. I've gotten a lot smarter with that. I do other things. I think that's the last takeaway. If you're a bodybuilder, even a natural bodybuilder, you're asking for trouble when you do a show and you use a shit ton, you're probably not using diuretics, but even dandelion, and you're depleting and you're depleting and your body's totally depleted and you're 5% body fat, 4% body fat, and then you go to McDonald's for a week after and you put on 40 pounds, 30 pounds, whatever pounds you put on, 20. Greg Doucette says it's impossible to put on 40. I don't know how that's Greg Doucette's not 230 pounds when he competes, or 240. You can definitely put on 40, 50 pounds if you're 6'2". Guaranteed. Guaranteed. In a week. Guaranteed. I've done it. Not healthy. Water, edema. By the way, edema is terrible for the heart. Get that crap out. Keep your diuretics in if you're using diuretics pre-contest. Just have some action plan so you don't retain water after the show for long periods of time. Bad for the heart. Guys will go into heart failure quick. It exacerbates everything else you're doing. Big time no-no. Big time mistakes. Okay? Think long and hard about it. I love bodybuilding, okay? I think it's great. It's changed the way I see the world. It's changed the way I treat people. It's changed, pretty much everything about me, in a good way. But could I have made some better decisions when I was younger? Absolutely. Do I know other people who made bad decisions and got away with it? Absolutely. Do I know other people who made bad decisions and paid the price? Absolutely. Be careful, okay? Less is more. Again, if I could go back and do things when I did shows, and if you watch my videos, I am Captain Shredded. I like getting super shredded. I would have really tapered off the diuretics gradually, and I wouldn't even use diuretics. I don't need them. I really don't. And I used a Diazide or something. Didn't need to. Excess strain on my heart. I didn't need to eat those hamburgers for a week or whatever I ate post show. And you look good and puffy and you're like 270 pounds or 260 at 6'1". I was after showing. I'm like, I'm huge. I'm like an IFBB pro, like super pro. Like I look Olympia like. It's all ego. And you know what? You can't take ego to the grave. Nope, nope. So all the other stuff in the sport is great. I'm just saying, you can do it smarter. You can do it smarter. And I'm probably thinking of hanging it up in my 40s, and hoping that I can make it, to my 70s, 80s. And maybe I wouldn't be saying that if I was smarter around shows. I could compete until I was 60, 70, Maybe if I would have been smarter. And I know I wasn't smart sometimes. So take it from a guy like me. And don't listen to Dr. Tony Huge. He's a fucking idiot. He's a moron. He makes me angry because kids are going to hurt themselves. Don't listen to any of like Rich Piana, what he was saying. He meant well, but he was wrong. He was wrong, okay? Less is more. Be smart, be safe. Don't do crazy experiments with your body. Bodybuilding is about, perfecting your physical appearance. And you can do that without doing extreme things. It's also about being a mega freak. And trust me, you can be a mega freak too, but it takes time. It's not built overnight, right? So take your time with it. Take your time and do it healthy. All right, kind of big deal videos. Stay safe, stay healthy. Let's grow old and make the sport look good. Peace.